Oh hey, I am so terribly sorry about that. My bad. I didn't even know we were recording at the time. I was too busy listening to good music. But anyway, on to the review. If I'm being blatantly honest with you guys, I wasn't particularly a fan of the first Trolls movie. And knowing what kind of amazing animated pictures that Dreamworks is capable of making, I would have to say that this one is easily one of their weakest projects to date. However, its lukewarm reception and next to mediocre reviews did not stop this product, loosely based off of a Danish troll doll, to become a multi-million-dollar franchise, manufacturing the likes of a Netflix series and a holiday special, which seems to be the theme for every single Dreamworks movie these days. And so, since the first movie became such a financial success, we finally land upon the follow-up sequel that the fans clearly demanded for in Trolls World Tour, which instead of being shown in theaters nationwide, is instead being distributed on VOD streaming services for $19.99. But unlike other movies such as Onward and The Invisible Man that deserve to be shown on the big screen that are now being rentable online, or in other cases pirated, this movie ironically belongs on VOD streaming, because Trolls World Tour is a completely pointless sequel with no reason to justify its $20 price tag. But anyway, what we are in for in regards to the plot is that Trolls World Tour reunites us once again, with Poppy and Branch once again being played by Anna Kendrick and Justin Timberlake, as they shockingly discover the existence of 6 different troll colonies that are all been dispersed by their ancient ancestors. Each tribe is responsible for humming a string that represents a piece of music of the respected colony, from pop, to techno, to funk, to country, to classical, and of course, metal. However, things drastically turn into chaos when the two of them are tasked to stop Queen Bar, played by Rachel Bloom, who wants all the strings for herself so that way she can conjure a power chord that will destroy all of music, turning the entire realms into mindless metalheads. If this plot sounds redundant and formulaic based upon the plot synopsis, that's because it pretty much is. The dry and simplistic narrative in the movie doesn't have anything for you to keep hold of your investment, and it doesn't get much better as the movie progresses with its predictably lazy and linear screenplay. Every single story beat feels like something out of another better movie. So much so that your literal storyline of your movie is about a particular villain gathering certain MacGuffins, or in this case 6 items, to unleash an upcoming event or accomplish a long-awaited goal. The premise is incredibly familiar, but the movie doesn't have anything refreshing to make up for its lackadaisical plot or story structure. There are certain contrivances in this film, in which case a small little thing like a pinky promise is treated like this big deal just to move the plot forward, or to eventually have a character leave and one of the main protagonists being clearly untrustworthy, just over a simple mistake that could be easily resolved, so that way another event can happen because the plot demands it. However, where I harp on the film's narrative, I cannot precisely take away points from this movie's animation. Once again, much like the last film, the art style and the animation is visually colorful and decoratively unique. Even if the care is being far less implemented on the story and its characters, there is a lot of care being put into its animation, with its cutesy, bubbly world design that feels so unique and creative, especially when you visit some of the kingdoms that the trolls inhabit, like the visually vibrant techno-troll world, or the ferociously fiery, flame-infested rock troll kingdom. I was pretty impressed by the look of the movie as opposed to everything else that the movie surrounded itself with. The voice work is once again adequate. Anna Kendrick and Justin Timberlake do perfectly fine with what they are given into the roles of Poppy and Branch. However, aside from James Corden's annoying presence as usual, the one person that killed me once he showed up on screen is Ozzy Osbourne, who makes a cameo as Queen Barb's dad. When his voice, and when his character showed up on screen, I died inside. This man is a metal god. His band Black Sabbath in the 1970s created the term metal. And over the past couple of months, he's been undergoing Parkinson's disease. Why is he in this movie? Why? The Prince of Darkness deserves better than this. Heck, even his performance or voiceover work in Brutal Legends is eons better than what this movie does to him. Making him geriatric and senile with having minuscule dialogue, and it hurts me every single time he shows up. I can't really say anything at all that I would consider positive about the film's side characters, because much like the original, every single one of the side characters is built as a hollow, contrived piece of comedy relief. None of them are likable, layered, or anything worth a passing glance. They haven't developed since the original film, because we didn't get to know or relate to these characters the last time we saw them, and it wasn't until this movie that we finally see these characters given something to do. and it still doesn't pay off. There is a character who has a subplot dedicated solely towards him, who realizes that, despite being a part of the pop trolls, he realizes that he has a family that is much like him, so he has to go out and find them. Here's the problem with that. This character has no development from the first movie, or in this movie whatsoever, and he has no other characteristics, personality, or depths that make us connect to this character in any facet. The villains from the get-go are unimaginative heavy metal archetypes that you would see on a Saturday morning cartoon. They don't have any development or anything interesting about them, aside from being braggadocious, bro-like, leather-wearing troglodytes with a surfer voice. The surreal comedic relief that this film has is tiring and not hysterical at all. Sometimes it's done in a way to where the surreal humor in the movie doesn't even make sense. I understand that this is a world of trolls, but there is a difference between embracing the level of surrealism in your world and throwing coherence out the window. Take, for example, the SpongeBob SquarePants movies. Their films, alongside their television shows, has embraced their insane level of surrealism based upon the show's setting, and it's handled in a very clever and hilarious way. In Trolls World Tour, they didn't establish the world building to where the humor makes sense and is coherent with what is happening on screen, and the movie is deciding to being weird for the sake of being weird, rather than developing the world building like it should have done at the beginning of the franchise. Why is the talking cloud from the first movie running on a puppy with puppies for hands? Doesn't matter. It's just a kid's movie. And at last, we finally reached the film's biggest selling point, which is something that the kids will constantly keep listening to for ages to come. That is the film's soundtrack, which is an uninspired, drastically dull affair of covers and originally forgettable songs, much like its progenitor. If there was one saving grace that I would say out of this entire soundtrack that is deemed originally decent, it would have to be the song that is sung by Kelly Clarkson, who is this leader of the country trolls. It's decently performed, and while the lyrics could have been a whole lot better, Kelly Clarkson still does a good job at selling the song through her vocal performance. But that scene and that song number ultimately gets ruined by the next 15 seconds of Poppy, Branch, and Biggie trying to create a 1-minute mashup of all the other songs that range from the Spice Girls, LMFAO's Party Rock, Who Let the Dogs Out, and Gangnam Style. And it was at that moment that after that number was over, I was questioning my own existence. And this especially saddens me with a soundtrack like this, considering the fact that I am a huge fan of heavy metal or all things metal. They do not take advantage of the heavy metal genre at all. Instead of bringing in other songs from bands like Black Sabbath, Motorhead, Iron Maiden, and one of my favorites of all time, if not my personal favorite, Judas freaking Priest, the movie just basically decided up front, screw it. Let's just bring in all the other overplayed stuff that people have desensitized themselves to, such as Rock You Like a Hurricane, Barracuda, and Crazy Train. Trolls World Tour is a total waste of time. Why waste 90 minutes on something like this? You and your kids and even your nieces and nephews deserve better than something like this. If you want to see any animated movie that is streaming right now, go on Disney Plus and watch something like Onward. Or in this case, especially, if you really want to see an animated musical that truly cares about its own integrity and justifies its existence, then go watch Frozen 2. There is no reason for you to pay $20 for something that is so lazy, half-hearted, slipshod, and pointless as the sequel. Alright guys, so that is my review of Trolls World Tour. If you like this video, please like and comment below what you thought of the film yourself. You'll also find me on media outlets such as Facebook, Twitter, and if you have a phone, possibly find me on Instagram. And as always, if you'd like to see more reviews like this, be sure to subscribe for more. If this movie makes a whole lot of money on online streaming, God help us all. My name is Luke Nukem. And you, my friends, have been blown away.